All right, so let's start with artist bio. A bio is just a summarized narrative version of your resume, so in complete sentences, but far, far shorter and with more personality. So no one wants to read your resume written out in paragraphs. That would be very boring and very long, right? So when we're talking about a bio, we're really talking about you're taking maybe one, maybe two categories of your resume that you're particularly proud of and converting them into maybe a sentence each that you're going to put into your bio along with just your basic information. And then you might have a sentence or two that conveys a little bit more personality. So we'll talk about how to do that. But it's the resume and CV is the document that it's most closely related to, but it's like a lot of times only like 50 words or 100 words. So clearly you're not going to be able to cover everything you cover in a resume, but that's the one it's most closely related to in your packet or your portfolio. So it's, like I said, one, maybe two paragraphs, anywhere from usually 50 to 200 words. The nice thing about a bio is that if you're using a bio for an application or it's going to be included in a publication or something like that, they'll usually give you a very strict word limit. So you don't have to like question how long it should be. They might say, we want you to give us a 100-word bio. And whatever they say, whatever word limit they say, whether it's 50 words or 100 words, you do want to make sure you stick to this limit because it might be included on social media or on a website or in a publication, in a catalog, in a program, whatever it is. And they do need it to be a specific length in order to fit in the formatting of whatever it is. So make sure if they say 50 words, don't submit 55. Try to really submit 50 words, which can sometimes be very difficult to do. You want to make sure to write in third person. So that means using your name and then using third person pronouns, she, her, he, him, they, them, throughout. So it sounds like somebody else is writing about you and hopefully someone who's really passionate about your work, really excited about your work. And you want to write in really simple, complete sentences. And I say simple, and we said this before in previous webinars, but I say simple just because, not because you're incapable of writing complex sentences, but because professional development documents like a bio or like an artist statement, project statement, whatever it is, are going to be skimmed because the people reading them generally have a lot of things to go through as a general rule. The types of things that you write bios for. And so the easiest way to make something skimmable is to make it go from capital letter to period as quickly and simply as possible without a lot of convoluted phrases and things like that. Just try to write as simply as possible. And I do have an example of a bio in here that does have a pretty long convoluted sentence, and I'll point it out when we get to it, so you know what I'm talking about. But it's a more informal context, so that's my excuse for it. But I will make sure to point it out when we get there, sort of out myself for my complicated sentence. So the other thing is there's a lot of other documents that have some overlap with a bio or commonly get confused with a bio. If you are working on one of these documents, an artist statement, a project statement, mission statement, vision statement, whatever, resume or CV, you can send those in over the next couple of weeks too. It doesn't just have to be a bio. I'm happy to look at any professional document you're working on. So you can send any of these for me to look at, and I'd be happy to. So an artist statement we covered in the last webinar if you were able to attend that one. But if not, it's a concise and concrete piece of writing that acts as a bridge between your audience or your reader and your art. So you're saying, hello world, this is my art. This is how I make it, why I make it, and what I do, what I make. And a bio, on the other hand, is saying, hello world, this is the artist, right? So there's this slight difference. And a bio is much more like formal and business-like, whereas an artist statement is a lot more philosophical. A project statement is like an artist statement, except it's usually about a specific project or a series rather than your work as a whole. A mission statement and a vision statement are usually 1 to 2 sentences, and they talk about why you do what you do. A vision statement just looks forward to the future, whereas a mission statement is talking about the present. And then a resume or a CV we've already sort of touched on, but it's a timeline of your whole career of work and art, right? Not comprehensive, necessarily, but much more comprehensive than a bio. So awards, projects, press, etc., all in there. All right, so what might you use a bio for? Well, the first two things are things that you might create and you might decide to include a bio, and you probably should include a bio, and that is a portfolio and a website. For a website, you have a little bit more leeway about the kind of bio that you write and how long it is and what you include. And so we'll talk about what you might want to include in your website bio. For applications for residencies, grants, competitions, or teaching positions, those are things that will often request a bio, and a lot of times will give you a specific word count for those things. And then exhibition or performance materials, catalogs, programs, and press packets might ask for a bio to be included in those types of things. So as you can see, there's a lot of different purposes for a bio, which means there's a lot of different kinds of audience that are reading your bio. Even though you're one person, there's a lot of different types of purposes that you might use a bio for. So your artist bio will change based on the context, which I know is a pain to hear because it would be nice just to use the same thing over and over again, but it won't change much. And I'll give you sort of a strategy for having what I'm calling puzzle pieces that you can then reconfigure in different orders or use some and not others for specific purposes. But it will change based on your audience and also based on the length requirement, of course. If you have a 50-word limit, you can only talk about so much, whereas if you have a 200-word limit, that gives you a lot more wiggle room. A couple tips. One is if an application that you're completing asks for an artist statement but not a bio, it's sometimes a good idea just to go ahead and include a bio in that same document. Because it just kind of gives a personal touch and it looks really professional. So you can say like artist statement, have your artist statement, and then another heading that says bio, and then just put your short bio. If they don't ask for a bio and you're providing one anyway, keep it really short, like 50 words. Just say who you are, and we'll look at a couple examples of that. But that's one thing to do. Another tip that's not on the slide, but is a good idea is sometimes this, probably is pretty rare, but sometimes you'll see applications that ask for either a bio or a resume. And if you see an application like that, I've been asked before, like, oh, what should I do? Well, if you're a new artist and your CV is pretty like slim, you might opt for the bio, just because then you can decide to highlight what you want to highlight, and you might want to talk about like your influences and your inspirations, which is one of the puzzle pieces I'll show you in a minute, rather than just talking about your accomplishments, which your CV obviously highlights.